This debate talk comes as independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is trying to play spoiler to a Biden-Trump rematch. Right now, RFK Jr. is polling stronger than any third-party candidate has in recent history. He has amassed roughly 10% of registered voters across key battleground states, but he's still got quite a bit of work to do to be a major factor here. Joining us now, Hogan Gidley, former Deputy Press Secretary for the Trump administration and former National Press Secretary for Trump in 2020, alongside Democratic analyst Jonathan Harris. To you both, welcome. They're setting their own terms for this potential debate, a Biden-Trump rematch on the debate stage. Hogan, let me start with you. What do you make of this back and forth?
Well, I like it. This is what politics should be about. The guardrails should be kind of taken off here, if you will. And so much of this is contrived by these Commission on Presidential Debates. So much of it is baked in the cake by these news outlets who are going to cover it one way or the other, who are going to be the moderators one way or the other. And so I like these candidates kind of throwing jabs and saying, you want to debate anytime, anywhere. The American people deserve to hear from both of these men, which is unique because we have two people in this race, one of whom is the sitting president, one of whom is the former president. Both of them have bodies of work. Clearly, Donald Trump's record has made people's lives better, regardless of race, religion, color, or creed. And Biden has made people's lives worse. And so this debate stage is set, the scene is set, and I'm all here for it. All right, Jonathan, you're up.
That was the spin. I respect. The argument is a little laughable, though. I mean, I don't think there's anyone in their right mind who would want to go back to 2020 when death was a cloud essentially hanging over the nation, when you couldn't go into a store and find basic essentials. Millions and millions of people were losing their jobs. Trump crashed the economy into a recession. And you must remember, this was before COVID, and it was due to his trade war with China that he started and lost. And that is an issue that I think President Biden, among many others, would love to compare to former President Trump. So look, the difference between President Biden and Donald Trump is that the only person who's ever backed out of a debate between the two of them is Donald Trump. After Biden handily defeated him the first time, he didn't want to do another debate. And then he conducted himself like a complete maniac in both debates, interrupting and being chaotic. And people responded by saying they didn't even want to see these, that it was a mess. We didn't really get any new information out of either one of them. So I commend President Biden for setting up parameters that would help to keep Donald Trump from acting like a loon and trying to turn the debate that he's turned his campaign into a circus. But I mean, to suggest that 2020 and millions of people losing their jobs, death hanging over the country, and basic essentials not being available, not being able to go to concerts and restaurants, et cetera, is better than where we are now is laughably absurd at best.
Well, pandemic influence there. Let me ask you both, and Jonathan, I'm going to start with you, but I want to get quick to this because I want to talk about RFK. When it comes to President Biden on the debate stage, what would you say is his greatest weakness, a risk in debating?
Well, I think when you remove the audience, it takes some of the risk out of it in terms of playing to a base or trying to get applause or get a laugh. In a civilized debate, I don't know that Biden has many weaknesses other than perhaps maybe the stutter that he struggled with his entire life. I don't really know that he has many weaknesses. This is a seasoned politician. I think one of the reasons he defeated Trump in both of those debates, and maybe even ultimately the election, is because Biden is a seasoned politician and Donald Trump is a television star.
Hogan, the same question for you as it pertains to Trump. What do you think is his greatest weakness coming face to face with Biden on a debate stage?
So much to unpack in this interview right now. All right, first of all, the mental decline, the physical decline of Joe Biden is obvious to anybody in the world watching him right now, which is why we've seen wars break out all over the place, which is why our economy is in shambles, the southern border is a joke, and the fact that crime is spiking all over the country. Here's the problem with these two folks. Of course it is. And to suggest somehow that the pandemic has anything to do with Donald Trump is ridiculous. In fact, we were upset when we left the White House that the economy was so super hot, was then stymied by the pandemic that was unforeseen, unprecedented, right out of China, which the media said wasn't true. And now they have to admit that it was. Biden said it wasn't true. Now he has to admit that it was. And speaking of China, as I digress, it was Joe Biden who said we should never tariff China because it hurts American workers. Now he just announced he's going to put tariffs in place against China. So this whole thing is laughable. And to somehow suggest that the American people don't want to go back in time to 3 or 4 years when they could afford gas and they could afford groceries, they didn't have to walk down the streets with a handgun for fear of being jumped by criminals when college campuses were places of learning and not protests for pro-terrorist people is absolutely insane. This is all because
Can I
of Joe
just
Biden.
ask real
It really
quickly,
played out
what
in a whole
country?
Hold on, I want
And when we
Hogan
get
to
on the
finish his
debate
comment.
stage, these are the very topics the American people care about that we'll be able to see these two men debate. It's pure and simple. If, of course, Joe Biden can make it through the first hour.
Okay. To be fair, the question to both of you was the greatest weakness. I didn't hear an answer out of either of you on that, but I understand.
Biden stutter. I said Biden stutter, possibly.
Biden stutter.
Which we didn't
Okay,
even
Hogan,
know
is there a
about for
greatest
50 years until all of a sudden he's old and can't talk. But whatever.
Is there a greatest
and then Trump doing that?
Hogan, is there a greatest weakness or a risk for Trump on the debate stage? Real quick.
No, I think focusing on the American people, the America First policies, which Donald Trump has done, even while Joe Biden has put him through the ringer via court cases, and they're going after him and using weaponized government to do so. I think if he focuses on those issues, the American people are going to be clearly understanding of what they had just a few short years ago with record-setting success versus the failure they've been given with Joe Biden.
I mentioned RFK. I want to get a quick response from both of you. Is he a factor? Does he deserve space on that debate stage? Jonathan, I'll give you an answer here for just a couple seconds, and then we'll end with Hogan.
Oh, gosh, no. I just real quickly, I think people need to be very leery of third-party candidates. I think the most successful third-party candidate was Ross Perot in '92. He got 20% of the vote. Ralph Nader in 2000 took away essential votes in Florida, and that was decided by hundreds of votes, and that decided the election. People need to be very leery of third-party candidates. They have no path to success, so they really are just spoilers. So absolutely no space deserved on that debate stage.
All right, Hogan, final word.
Yeah, well, this is our democracy. The people on the left, the media loved it when Ross Perot was involved because he took away from George H.W. Bush all those votes. The question here is, who does RFK's presence in the race hurt most? And it's obvious. If the media doesn't like it, it hurts Joe Biden. And right now, there's a concerted effort with the DNC and others to prevent RFK from being on ballots in a lot of these states. So it shows they're quite concerned that a name like Kennedy, that still carries with it a ton of cachet on the left, is going to siphon votes away from Joe Biden.
Well, Trump was just crying about Kennedy the other day, so make sure that you checked with Trump for your talking points.
All right, guys, healthy and respectful back and forth in conversation today. Thank you, Hogan Gidley and Jonathan Harris. Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks.